Hi everyone, welcome back to part 6 in our Seesaw plus Canvas video series. Today I'm going to talk to you about the different devices that can be used with Seesaw and how you can get your students logged into Seesaw. So I'm starting here with the Seesaw Help Center page called What Platforms, Browsers, and Operating Systems Does Seesaw Support? And I will share this along with the video. Seesaw is available on just about everything. There are apps available for iOS, Android, and Kindle Fire, and you can also use Seesaw on the web using a computer or a Chromebook using Chrome, Firefox, or Edge. And it doesn't outright recommend Safari, but if you scroll down, Safari does work. Certain things cannot be done in Safari, like you can't do the draw and record at the same time, but most browsers support Seesaw. Seesaw is also supported on older iPads, but it doesn't have the full features and students won't be able to see the activities that you've assigned. So you'll really have to be mindful of the devices that your students have since we'll be starting the year at home. I'm going to show you what the apps look like. So the Seesaw Class App is the one that is installed on our iPads at school, and this is what your students will use to complete their work, and it's what they're going to use at home this fall as well. So when students are getting signed up and using those home learning codes, if they are using a tablet type device, iOS, Android, or Kindle, they are going to need the Seesaw Class App. This is where all of the work is done. When your family search for Seesaw in the App Store for their device, they'll also find the Seesaw Family app, and we'll talk more about this tomorrow. But this is more so that parents can see what their kids are doing and give feedback and like what their kids are doing. They can also send and receive messages to you, but I'm going to recommend that we stay away from that because we'll have Canvas and email and our school messenger already all in the mix. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. So here I am in my teammates class, and I've gone over a little bit about how you would get your students logged in if we are in school, and I'll show you that again really quick, and then I'm going to show you on 2 different devices how you might get your students signed in. So I'm going to go to the wrench, and I'm going to hit plus students, and this brings up right away getting your students signed in. Now, if you did get a new student and you needed to add someone to your class, you'd press add students down here and you can add them that way. This is for getting your students signed in. So there's a code here that you can copy, and this refreshes every hour, or you could have the iPad available to scan that QR code, or the Chromebook, or the computer. You can also print a student sign-in poster. Seesaw recommends that you hang this in your classroom, but I don't typically do that. What I'll do is I will sit at my reading table with this poster, and I will call my students over in small groups and get them logged in, and then teach them a little bit about Seesaw right there at the table. So we take about 10 to 15 minutes in small groups just to learn the features and make sure everybody is signed in. So you have choices on how you can do that. I am going to go back and I'm going to copy this code. I have Google Chrome open, and I'm going to show you what this would look like if your students were signing in on a computer. So I copied that code, and I'm going to click I'm a student, and I'm going to paste the text code here. Go. This is my teammates test class, and all of the student names are up. So as a student, I would look for my name, click on it, and be signed into class. My teammate, when we set up her class, we said that she had one-to-one devices. So once I'm signed in as Neil here, this is always Neil's device. You can set up your class if you are not one-to-one so that there are shared devices, and what would happen with that is you would put in that text code or scan that QR code, and then every time a student is submitting work, they would have to select their name so they make sure that the work is being attributed to the right person. But since we are one-to-one, this is Neil's device now, and he can see everything that's been assigned to him. Neil hasn't completed any work in the journal, but he can see his classmates' work. So when you sign in with that class code, that's really only for your classroom. I would not even consider sending that home. When you sign in with the class code, Neil has access to all of his classmates' work in here. So he can like and comment on those posts, and I would not even begin to do this at home. With this feature, this is something where you can teach students how to give meaningful feedback to their classmates. This is something that really needs to be monitored by a teacher, so do not give that class code out at home. If you're not comfortable with your students seeing each other's work in your classroom, you can also turn this feature off. But I would not recommend allowing them to see each other's work if you are not there to monitor and make sure that they're making appropriate comments and that you're teaching them what kind of feedback they could give on these kinds of assignments. So I'm going to close Chrome and I'm going back into my teammates class and I'm going to show you where to find those home learning codes. Again, this is what we're starting with. I would actually probably recommend that we stick with this all year. There is a chance that we will go back into the classroom at the end of the first quarter, but with the pandemic and all of the possibilities, there is always a possibility that we might begin in the classroom and end up back at home. So I would say for this school year, I'm probably just going to stick to these home learning codes and not even begin a class code sign-in. So to find your students' home learning codes, it's under the wrench, class settings. I'm clicking home learning codes. Download codes gives you like an Excel spreadsheet list. Print codes gives you PDFs that you could print or email to each family. So I'm going to scroll down. I've already printed off Brian's home learning code, and I'm going to show you what that will look like signing into a couple of different devices. With my QuickTime Player, I have my iPad screen set up here, and I am going to show you what it will look like to sign in on an iPad. So I have Brian's home learning code here, and I'm going to type it in this time. I'm going to select I'm a student. I'm going to type the text code. KKCWEMIG DVDOVLJC. And now I'm signed in as Brian. And as Brian, with my home learning code, I can only see the work that Brian has completed. This is important when our students are at home, that they are only seeing their own work, because we don't want parents comparing their students' work to other students' work. So Brian has access to only what he has done. He can see the activities that he has not completed yet. And then we have some notifications in the inbox here. It says the teacher has added an item to your journal, so that happens when a teacher approves an assignment that's been submitted. So you'll get that alert as a student to know that your assignment has been approved. You'll also get an alert if your teacher gives you feedback on your assignment, or your parent does, or if someone likes your assignment. So that's one way to do it. I am going to switch now to my phone. And iTunes always opens. Okay. Oops. Okay, now we're ready. So I have my phone open here and I have Brian's home learning code printed out. I'm holding it in my hand. I'm going to scan the QR code this time. So I'm pressing I'm a student, and I'm going to scan the class code, and it brings me right in as Brian. I have the option to turn on notifications or not. I would not recommend having your students use a phone. It is possible, but the canvas is so much smaller and the screen orientation is locked. If I turn my phone to the side, Seesaw does not turn. So that makes completing work a little bit more difficult. So if I were going to complete this response, the canvas is itty bitty. I have all the tools here that I might need, but I can't change the size. I can't turn it. I can't zoom in. So it is possible, but I wouldn't recommend it. As a teacher, though, if you are going to pop in and give some quick feedback, or if you have a parent who is using the family app and would like to give feedback, on the phone is fine, but completing work on the phone, depending on what kind of work is being done, is near impossible. If you're just asking students to record a quick video or take a quick picture, this would be fine, but anything where you have to actually write or move things, it's a little bit more difficult. So I would not recommend that. So those are a few ways that you can get students signed in on their devices, using the class code, using the home learning code, using devices, using browsers. When we are using Canvas, we will have our students sign in within the Canvas environment, and I will show you more about that later this week. But again, we have to be mindful of the devices that our students are using. So if you know that you have children who are using iPads, for example, to access Seesaw and Canvas, we'll have special links that we'll have to provide, because Seesaw does not work on an iPad in Safari or in Google Chrome. It has to be opened in the app. So we'll have a special link for them to click on that will launch the Seesaw app. So it's just one extra step. It makes things a little bit more tricky, but again, Seesaw is absolutely wonderful, and I totally stand by us using it, and I'm excited that we can use it with Canvas, but we'll have to be mindful of what our kids need and make sure that we're providing all those things so that we can make this as seamless as possible for everybody. All right, thank you all so much, and I will be back tomorrow with more.